All right. Welcome in Toilets to Titles, episode number 146. This is our week 6 NFL fantasy football preview. And with me this evening, as always, it's good to have him back. My main man, my co-host, Justin at JustinFF _ on the Twitter. Justin, what's cooking?
Hey, what's going on, Coach? A couple of busy weeks for us here, back to back. The last couple, I think 2 out of 3 weeks. So we're back on track. I don't see any Tuesdays in the near future that I'm going to be missing again. So we should be good to go.
Yes. And Justin missed for some playoff tennis. So
Yeah.
son's a senior. Had some big tennis matches, so it's completely understandable. I hope to be watching some. Go ahead.
And his buddies are doubles partners for the One Dubs team, for his tennis team that made it to, we believe, semi-state at bare minimum, which is huge because we don't do class tennis and in Indiana. They still make the smallest, tiniest schools go up against the biggest schools all the way across the board, kind of like the old Hoosiers Milan story. So these kids being able to make it that high is pretty huge. So we're going to go see them play again this Saturday in Kokomo and watch them battle it out for a shot at state.
Man, I think you need to bring the cow skull. I think it's good luck.
no, that thing
Yeah.
Thing's gone. Not coming back.
You need to ask your dad, ask your old man, hey, I did you a favor. I talked about this on the show. You need to get that cow skull and you need to attach it to the front of their bus.
yeah, and then that thing will fall off on the way there, and he won't speak to me for weeks.
True, we don't want that, but maybe we'll find another cow skull, and decorate the team bus. I think that would be, because then it looked like you guys mean business. You guys roll up to Kokomo in a bus with
cow skulls and coffin lids, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's another thing. You got the coffin lids. That's for when you leave. You leave the coffin lid as a sign that you came, you saw, you conquered. All right. So the pink elephant in the room, if you're watching on the YouTube, my name here says Fly Eagles Fly, and Justin's photo is an Eagles photo. And we'll get into our weekly game of the week. And if you've been following the show for the past 3 years, we do a little competition where we pick a game of the week, and point differential, whoever's is the largest is the loser, whoever's is the slimmest is the winner. And we'll get into that, but Justin won this week, and I am a Fly Eagles Fly. I don't know if I've ever said that before. I've said that twice in the last 2 minutes, and hopefully that'll be the last I ever say of that. But you know what? I'll say it 10 times next week if the Cowboys win. I don't care. Oh, Facebook user. Well, you don't even have a name. It just says Facebook user. Boo you. Boo to you, Facebook user. Fly Eagles Fly. But you can find me on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. However you're watching, it'd be greatly appreciated. Find us on the YouTube. We're at like 778 subscribers. We're trying to get to 800 before the end of the month. Like some of our shows, comment on the shows, subscribe, hit the bell, be alerted every time we go live. If you have Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show. Those a 5-star review. During the show, you're going to hear us read one of the 5-star Apple reviews, and we could read yours. And another way to get into the Frankenstein League, which we'll also discuss. Leave us a 5-star review, get you in Frankenstein. Leave us a really good one, might get you in for free, which is a $25 value. But you know what, Justin, do you want to discuss what we're doing for the listener right now? We have a $100 Fanatics gift card giveaway. You want to summarize that a little bit for the listener?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in short, it's pretty simple. We have a live show going on right now. So if you comment in the comment section, that just type in I am a T2T fanatic, then you automatically get entered in for a chance to win a $100 gift card or gift certificate. I don't really know how they're going to work it, but with fanatics.com. So fanatics.com is a place that you can go to buy authentic NFL merchandise. You're looking to possibly get some Christmas gifts for someone that you know and love coming up. You got an opportunity to get $100 off of that really nice $140 jersey you've been looking at. Make sure you put it in there. George just gave you a really good example. I'm not completely sure if George is eligible, but but that is a great example, George.
Yes,
And
thank you. Oh, Lori's in there too. The
executive
manager, the
producer Lori
producer.
is in there again. Not sure that she's eligible. We know the Patreon Steve is eligible. This is another entry for Patreon Steve. But anyhow, yeah. So you guys follow their lead. Type in there, generate some chat with the people in the chat. It looks like Lori's already chiming in early, so I'm sure there's going to be some comedic relief at my expense, especially with her and George and Steve. This is ugly already. This is like if I had 3 ex-girlfriends all sitting at a table together with me. Like, I have no idea what's about to go down.
Well, you know what? That's the comedic relief, and that'll be good for the listener. If we get so right now we have 15 entries. All right. Uncle Steve's entered twice, which is allowed. All right. You can enter every single live show. All right. So we go live right now, 8 o'clock Tuesday nights. And then at 9 o'clock, we have head to head with Jared, with Nino, with Clutch Russ. So you can enter then. All right. Wednesdays at 6:30 a.m. We got Down Under Dynasty. You could enter then. All right. 8 p.m. We have Joe Knows talking about the NFL with Andrew Steele, who's also on there. You can enter then. Wednesdays at 10:30 is Dollars to Deuces. Friday nights at 7 p.m. We got Justin and George doing TGIF. This guy is Fragile. That's our injury show. And then P2P with Nino and Jared. That's at 8:30. So what else? Saturday, Dash the DFS at 9 p.m. And then Sunday morning, the Blitz, 10:30 a.m. So all those times you could enter quite often. All right. Uncle Steve's the only person who's entered twice so far. So he's going to probably nail this thing down unless the rest of you step up. Now, if we get 50 entries, right? We have 15 now that Uncle Steve joined. We are going to give away a $50 Fanatic gift card as well. So that's $150. And on November 1st, we're going to use random.org. I'm keeping track. Justin can vouch for me. I'm keeping track on the doc, who entered, what day they entered. All right. And here's the cheat code. There's a way you can enter not on a live show. All right. The way you can enter is you can go and watch. I don't know what day. So me, Nino, and we had a beat writer from Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't know which episode that was, but if you look it up, Thursday night. So that is the only episode we're allowing people to enter after the fact because I forgot to mention it. So you go and you find that on the YouTube channel. You comment in there, I'm a T2T fanatic, and you're entered. All right. So that
too, I might be solo for the TGIF show because it looks like based off of the comments, I may be firing George officially. So
I haven't had a chance to read the comments.
We'll never get through this if we.
Yeah. All right. So I talked about the schedule, tied it in all there. Check out toiletstotitles.com. We got Chuck Steele's doing a new series called Plated. All right. I think he talked about Romeo Dubs last week. I'm interested to see who he's talking about this week. You'll get to see my dudes and duds on there. We got Joe Arachi's, his Thursday DFS lineups on there. So we got a lot of good stuff on there. Justin, why don't you go ahead and read a recent 5-star Apple Podcasts review for us?
Yep, absolutely. I can do that. So today's 5-star review comes at us as my computer's freezing up at the bottom of the screen.
I got it. It's from Royal Flush. And it says, Toilets to Titles may be the name, but there is no poop here. This podcast sit on the throne of quality content. Short and sweet.
Yep.
Very good.
And like very on brand. So we appreciate you, Royal Flush.
Yes. And go ahead. Throw us a 5-star Apple Podcast review so we can read it on here and we can get you into Frankenstein. Speaking of Frankenstein, Justin, how about we discuss the high scores from this past week, some of the cards that were used?
Yeah, so Alex O has been a regular on this top 5 list. He was the high scorer for this week. Joshua Bigby from Fusion, second. Nate, our boy Nate, is he got third. At Jax Kamish is a guy that came on to one of our breakdown shows this past off season, and I was able to talk him into the league, and now he's coming in and wreaking havoc. So
and his team name is the Headless Horseman, which if I had to do a power rankings of, we had this discussion, I think, between T2T members. Yeah, who has the best? I think the Headless Horseman is classic. Like top 5 to me team name in all of the Frankenstein division. Next year we'll all have to do our own power rankings. But I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Ooh, that's
Continue
a good
on.
idea. I love the thought of power rankings. Yo, even better. Oh man, I'm on to something now. Power rankings to determine something big. So like we all give power rankings only to the people in our division, and
Okay.
the person with the best power ranking overall from everyone they got to get something. So
Right.
I'm going to write this down the next time you read.
Let me continue this. All right. How we do this. So this is how Frankenstein works. Next year is going to change. It evolves. All right. So you're already seeing us discuss next year. Justin, we are going to keep this between me and you so that next year at Canton, we will drop this on whoever's there. We'll all spread out and do our own individual rankings of whatever it is that we decide. So nobody can prepare. There can be no collusion. Not that I think there would be collusion, but nobody will be prepared. It'll be, hey, go do this. You got 15 minutes, and then we'll get back together, average it out. If that works, I think that might make sense as to what you're getting at.
And we'll try to squeeze that in before we do the actual live draft at that cemetery in Canton that has the tombstone of the guy that's name is actually Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Because it's a disgrace that we haven't done that yet. Campy, our boy Campy, Andrew Campy, our IT guy, our website guru extraordinaire, got 5th. He rounds out that top 5. The cards that were used this week, both of them were kind of interesting in their own way. So Demonic Confusion, Joshua Bigby, he already had his game locked up. Everybody that has the Terminator card or considered using the Terminator card or have feared the Terminator card are worried about the guy with the Terminator card using this to help them win, because what the Terminator card does, if you play this card, you can go back in time and swap a starting player out of your starting lineup into your bench for a bench player and put them in your starting lineup. So Demonic Confusion, Josh, he already won by quite a bit. There was no player on his bench that would have helped him because he already had it won, but yet he used his Terminator card. My initial thought was, what the heck are you doing here? But what he did actually was he swapped out. He took out Hawkinson, who had a bad game, and threw in Rashad Penny, who had 8 more points, I think, than he did in Frankenstein format. And so he got 8 more points for his overall score. And more importantly, now he gets rid of Rashad Penny and gets Christian McCaffrey in the steal from the win. So he used the Terminator card in a totally different format and a totally different way than most people were considering. So good on you, Josh. You're always thinking outside the box. I should have expected that from you. And then our new guy, I don't really know his name yet, but it's at NAV sub.
It's Derek.
That's right. Yeah. He played the blob card. Now, here's the thing about this, though. That particular team has been vacant for a couple weeks now, and we didn't really realize it, because usually if a guy doesn't set a lineup for a week, I just kind of blame it on he was busy or he forgot, or I don't go and just replace the guy immediately. I give them a week to really try to figure it out. We get into that second week, and if I start to notice that they're not setting a lineup a second week, we get rid of them and we pull in a guy. So this guy had the blob card, which is arguably one of the most powerful monster cards in the league, right? So the original guy had the blob card and never used it. Well, what the blob card does is it allows you to steal any player you want from your opponent from that week without giving them a player in return. You're just straight up absorbing another guy onto your team like the blob would do. So this new guy comes in. Coach Fry probably wasn't anticipating a new guy using it. As a matter of fact, when he used this, it did kind of get Coach Fry on tilt just a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of funny to watch the back and forth. But he comes in, takes over this orphan team, finally uses the blob card, and it happens to be on Coach Fry. Coach Fry's argument.
My guy too. Coach Fry's my guy.
Yeah, no, and that's what makes it even funnier, because like that back and forth, you could tell like he was frustrated, but he was coming from a good spot because he understands the league. You know, he even said, "I love this league."
Good sport.
Yeah, but so Coach Fry just has the bad luck, and his argument, good argument, was why steal a player from a mediocre team like myself and make your bad team mediocre whenever you could, wait until you have a deeper opponent. But again, there's just so many different, who knows what the new guy was thinking. He probably don't even know what to think about these new cards. So there's just so much going on in this league, guys. I absolutely love the Frankenstein League. Can't wait for all the new updates this upcoming season, because I already have horrible luck in this season. So I need to change it up again.
We're going to add cards, and not every card's going to be drafted like this year. I was just thinking, the Jelly Blob is interesting because you could take a player. What if we created a card that you could swap your entire roster for your opponent's roster?
Wow. That would be huge.
But to reel it in, because that would be, well, remember how we were going to, I don't know if we already teased this or if I'm dropping a bomb here, but we were kind of talking in the background about like a Lord of the Rings themed card, like the one card to rule them all. And I think we had ideas for what that one would be. And I think we're going to let it be that. And we'll introduce that later on. But this would be something like, maybe it would be something where only one person can draft it and it's randomized, or to kind of dull it down a little bit because it's a little overpowered. You have to, like, if you draft it, you have to pick a week. Like, I'm going to play at week 5 before the season starts. So like you can't, so it's kind of a guessing game. It's a gamble, like the Leprechaun, where, you have to kind of anticipate how this roster is going to do. And you want that guy's roster in 4 or 5 weeks. And you could take, like, you play the card before week 1, and then week 5, you swap rosters or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. That's going to take some talking.
Yes.
No, George, that does not mean that you get out of. I need you to fill out the injury doc first, and then I'll fire you. But I'll probably bring you back for Friday for the show.
Yes.
I don't want to do it solo.
Yeah.
And then I'll fire you again until we need the doc updated.
All right, let's keep rolling. So speaking of docs, we're going to talk about some injuries. Before we talk about injuries, I do want to list the bye weeks for those of you listening at home. Lions on a bye, Tennessee Titans are on a bye, Las Vegas Raiders and the Houston Texans. And the big joke going around is that Devontae Adams is probably going to have a 2 or 3 week bye after what he did to the cameraman there. But Justin, why don't we read off some of the news here? Do you have the doc pulled up?
Yeah, I've got the injury doc. Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Let's read off some of these. You don't have to get into them too much, but we can go through them here.
Damien Harris, he's likely to miss multiple games because of the hamstring injury. It wasn't good. He didn't even try to come back out after the hamstring issue. So he's still getting tested, but the expectation is that he'll be out for a bit. So obviously, fire up your Ramandre Stevenson. As a matter of fact, like I've said all along that Ramandre Stevenson is head and heels above a more talented running back than Damien Harris. And I think he has a real opportunity to show it with the schedule coming up. If he can show it against some of these tougher defenses that they're about to play, and then really excel in some of the weaker opponents before Damien can come back, there's a good chance that we might see more of a split towards Stevenson once Harris does come back. Let's see. T. Higgins, and I know we're going to talk more about Ramandre later, so that's why I'm just moving on. But T. Higgins has an ankle here. Higgins is dealing with an ankle sprain. He was limited in practice all week and tried to play Sunday's game. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor said in Monday's press conference that T. Higgins is considered day-to-day. Definitely something that we're going to want to monitor. Let's see. Baker Mayfield's kind of a big one. High ankle sprain, not because he's a big player, but because it affects, he's the quarterback. It affects the entire team. But he'll definitely miss some time. Looks like there's a good chance that PJ Walker is going to be in line for the starting role this week against a tough one. That, I know the Rams aren't as good as they have been.
Man, the Rams
still tough.
I think so. Christian McCaffrey is available, right? DJ Moore is available. Now, do you think they want to, you think they're going to try to get rid of those players right away? Because if you're going to try to sell these assets, you don't want to give them a chance to get hurt. You don't want Christian McCaffrey on the field. You don't want DJ Moore.
Just go ahead and make the trade at the coin toss and just give them a new jersey so that they don't have.
They need to do it ASAP. They need to do it yesterday.
No, if you're going to do it, you at least want to do it right before the game, as close as possible, so they don't have time to prep.
But who cares? What are you playing for?
That's true. That's fair.
And I'm not saying that to be a jerk to the Panthers. If you're moving on from McCaffrey, if you're moving on from DJ Moore, you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Again, you're rebuilding. So it doesn't even necessarily matter to you to win. All you can do is hurt yourself by holding on to these players and having one of these guys get hurt.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if I'm Dallas, if I'm Jerry right now, I'm on the phone for DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I am on the phone. If I could get him for a second-round pick, it's done.
Yeah,
Done.
I agree. So I don't know what the Tyreek injury was. I know he was stepped on, but I don't know like if they have like an official. This is what the injury is. But also it says here that he left the game with a quad injury. I thought his foot was stepped on. Maybe I'm thinking of another player. Either way, he was in a walking boot. Don't really know why you need a walking boot for a quad injury. Maybe we need to look more into that. Might be two. He might have two injuries. So, oh wait, no, he entered Sunday's game with a quad injury. He exited with a foot injury. Okay, I see how you worded that, George. Thanks. But yeah, so Tyreek Hill, monitor that this week, and without Tua in there, especially Jalen Waddle's been affected. I know that personally, but
it's crushing me. I was so high on Jalen Waddle, and my bathroom board bets were looking phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal 3 weeks into the season. Then this Tua stuff happens, and it's just completely downhill. And I know George wants Teddy Bridgewater in there. I was talking about Skylar Thompson last week. Skylar Thompson didn't really get to practice with the ones. He got thrusted in there. I'm hoping that he gets, because Teddy can't practice till Thursday. Let Skylar practice with the ones. Give him an opportunity. Let's see what he is. Because what's Teddy? I guess if you're still in contention, you want to put your best option out there. I get it. But I think Skylar might be your best option. And you're only going to find out by giving him an opportunity. But we'll see.
Well, speaking of Teddy, he is expected to be cleared of the concussion protocol by week 6, which makes sense because it didn't really look like too much of a concussion. But with all the new rules, I don't think anybody really actually knows what a concussion is anymore. Rashad Penny, fractured fibula. Looks like his season is done. And in comes Walker. Walker, Seahawks Ranger, the guy that so many have been looking forward to since he was drafted. So he's
but what a roller coaster. He had that groin injury, right?
Yeah.
Or hernia. He had something early in the offseason. So he looked great in training camp, preseason. Then he gets hurt. Everybody who drafted him is panicking because it might be the season.
Yeah.
So it went from this guy's going to ball to damn it, he's not going to do anything, to now he might be back first few weeks. Then he's back and the stock rises again. And now Penny gets hurt, out for the season, and Walker looks elite. He looks phenomenal. Like it has been a roller coaster.
Run he had, it was incredible. It was like a 70-yard run. There's just a wide open hole, but I mean, obviously it's a wide open hole. Anybody could have had a great run on that, but he saw the hole immediately. He hit the hole without hesitation, which is amazing for a rookie. And then he outran everybody. Nobody had a shot at catching him. So even though because I overheard other people talking on ESPN about how it was such a wide open hole, anybody could have done that. No, not anybody could have done that at a rookie level. With, like you said, with the history that he's had, he wasn't timid at all. He was ready to feast. So right. I think he could really blow up for sure.
Man, how about, did you see that run Dameon Pierce had?
Which
against the Jaguars? He just broke yeah.
No, I did not.
Dude, you got to go to Twitter.
I will.
And search, dude. He broke like 8 tackles. Phenomenal. Yep. Like, dude was. We got 2 young guys right now. Didn't have too high a draft capital, that are stepping in with the possibility to be an RB1 on a weekly basis, and they both look good. So those you drafted those running backs late, you're in great shape right now.
Yep, for sure. And George, to give you a heads up, on Friday night, you're going to be reading Russell Wilson's shoulder injury, because I cannot pronounce these heavy words here.
Platelet-rich plasma.
It's that's the easy one too. So he has a shoulder injury, injection to relieve discomfort near the throwing shoulder. Dude, more than anything, I think his pride has been injured more than his shoulder. But it says something about the large muscle of the upper back. Like, dude's got a lot going on, and then we're also adding these bad injuries to it. Steer clear of Russell Wilson, and I never thought I would have said that going into the season for sure. Let's see, James Conner, ribs. You know how ribs can be. Usually ribs are just a pain tolerance. He did not return in the second half this week, but again, if he can tolerate the pain, there's a chance he'll be out there. But with running backs, that's a little tough. You're going to be taking some hits, so we'll see. Dalton Schultz re-injured that knee. So have you heard any particular news since you're the Cowboys fan, outside of what we already know that he just kind of re-injured and tweaked that same knee? Does it look like he's going to be playing, or
They're holding it. They're holding it real close to their chest, and Ferguson's got a little bit of an injury too. Jason Peters, he's got that chest. Like, there's a lot of injuries that there's really not much being said about them, and I'm worried about Dalton Schultz. Like, I almost feel like I don't want Dalton Schultz at 60%. And I felt that way 2 weeks ago. Like, if this dude's got something going on, shut it down, because putting him out there is just hurting the offense. He's not an elite blocker. He's become a better blocker this year than he was last year. Dude, he has 0 catches over the last 2 weeks. We got this guy, Peyton Hendershot. He's not a blocker, but neither was Schultz.
Go
ahead.
Do we know what grocery store Blake Jarwin is working at right now?
No, but Peyton Hendershot kind of has that Blake Jarwin. Like, he could stretch the field. He's a faster guy. He's a little bigger. He's not like a blocker, but he's gonna, that's a guy. If Schultz is banged up, and if Ferguson's banged up, and if you're really desperate for a tight end, pick him up. Peyton Hendershot, interesting guy, but I'm worried about Schultz. I don't feel comfortable. I have Schultz and Pitts in 2 leagues. One of them is Scott Fishbowl, and I thought that, like, having those 2 guys, man, was going to propel me to the top, because I was able to land Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Phenomenal. Those 2 guys are killing it. And then Pitts and Schultz, like, I thought, tight end premium, I got these quarterbacks in a super flex. Like, I'm going to kill it. And I think I'm like 600th now, which isn't terrible. But, like, I feel like it could be better if these guys were hitting. And at this time, I don't think Schultz is going to hit. I'm hoping Pitts does. But speaking of tight ends, Pat Freiermuth has a concussion. So we'll see when he'll be back. And then Chris Olave has a concussion as well. So he hit the ground hard in the end zone. He had to be helped to the sideline, and he's crushing it. Chris Olave, I saw a stat today. I wish I could quote it, but it was comparing his total yardage to like 7 or 8 big-time wide receivers who he's out producing, and one of them being CeeDee Lamb. So Chris Olave, he's on the path to Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I think George Pickens, my prediction preseason, he's starting to climb up. And with Deontay Johnson dropping about eight passes last week, I think Kenny Pickett's going to start looking Pickens' way a little bit more. But you got any other news, guys, to add there? Are we good?
No, we're good. Lori actually watched football with me this weekend, so she's waiting until we mention something that she knows about. So that'll be interesting.
Bravo.
George, yep. We're hoping that Tua does come in and make some changes. And that's not his wife taking over his account. He really does call him his Lord and Savior. Let's see.
Who the hell's Michael Charlene?
Michael Charlene? I don't get it.
I
see the comment.
I don't know, but who's Michael Charlene?
Maybe that's his local save a lot, and he thinks that he would be a great tight end for the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. Call him up, or maybe he'll be a better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay.
All right.
Game of the week.
All right. Well, no. Before we go to game of the week, I want to remind you, if you're watching live and if you haven't entered already, comment I'm a T2T fanatic for a chance to win a $100 Fanatics gift card on November 1st. All right. Patreon, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/toilets to titles. Tier 1 is $3. It gets you into our Discord group chat. You can bounce all your trades, lineup decisions, all that stuff 24/7, 7 days a week. I think that's the 7 part of the 24, so I don't think I needed to say 7 days a week, but I did anyway. All right, it's late. The next one, $5 is tier 2. That's early access. Well, actually, not early access. It gets you access to our Patreon waiver wire episode, which doesn't go to anybody else but Patreon members, and it goes out early Tuesday morning, like 6 a.m., and it's loaded with information from everybody at Toilets Titles. It also guarantees you a spot in the Frankenstank. Tier 3 is $7.50. It's one-on-one draft advice, one-on-one DFS advice, and again, everything listed above that earlier, you get that as well. $10, which is tier 4, that gets you entry into Frankenstank for free and everything else. And then tier 5 is the tier for you. It's $20. It's one-on-one roster analysis, a 30-minute episode breaking down one of your fantasy leagues. And basically, we'll do whatever the hell you want. just let us know. That's $20. That's the big spenders. So we appreciate all the support. All right, I think we're up to 15 patrons right now, and that's phenomenal, man. And it feels good to have the support, and it's helping us run this show. We invest a little bit into this thing, and being able to have some funds come in definitely makes it. I mean, it's what makes this worth it is honestly seeing the views go up, seeing the 5-star reviews, the interaction we get from everybody out there, like that stuff makes it worth it. But also, getting some funds in to help us, like move forward and progress is another thing that just, it's great, man. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we have some power moves coming up really soon in the works. Really soon, and I'm not gonna break anything right now. I don't want to jinx anything, but we do have some big power moves coming up, and none of it would even be a consideration if it wasn't for these Patreons. So Thank you very much, Patreon supporters.
All right, games of the week. So last week, Justin wasn't here, but he picked Bengals at Ravens, which since he wasn't here, I should have docked him a point or two just for that, and then therefore he wouldn't have won. But he did won, 17-19. 2-point differential. I picked Eagles at Cardinals. It was 20-17. It's a 3-point differential. Joe picked Cowboys at Rams. It was 22-10, which was a 12-point differential. All right. For the season total, Justin, you're at 49 and I'm at 50. So this thing is very, very close. Right. And we got Russell. Russ is in here. He said Kansas City versus Buffalo is the game of the week. Well, guess what? That is my selection for game of the week. All right. I'm sure everyone was expecting me to pick Cowboys Eagles. I didn't pick Cowboys Rams this week. I'm not picking Cowboys Eagles this week because I'm superstitious, and that's the way I am. And so I got Bills and Chiefs. I think this is going to be phenomenal. Justin, what's your game of the week?
Yeah, so I wanted the Bills and Chiefs, but obviously that one was taken. I thought heavily about the Cowboys and Eagles, and obviously if Dak were playing, and we knew he was healthy, then I think that would be the obvious game of the week. But I kind of deflected a little bit. I'm going to go with the Browns and the Patriots this week because I'm very interested to see how that all's gonna work down. Because I feel like I'm drawing a blank. He's coming back from his injury. Mac Jones. I feel like Mac Jones is going to come back. What do you mean who?
Mac Jones.
Yeah.
That's Mike Jones' joke. You got to be hip. All right.
I'm not.
No, not in Indiana. They don't listen to Mike Jones.
Yeah.
Chopped and screwed, man.
If it's Houston music, I don't listen to it anyway.
Yeah, I'll send you some Mike Jones after the episode, and then next week you're gonna come in with a completely different style. It's gonna change your whole life.
Yeah, that'll be my punishment name, right? So
Mike Jones.
So, but the big reason is because of, again, this running game. I feel like with Ramandre Stevenson at the helm, we're about to see something huge. I believe he is that good. I really do. I think that he's a top 5 running back in this league, and we're about to finally see it where there's nobody else there to steal his thunder like Harris has been doing the last 2 seasons. So if Stevenson stays healthy and he gets through this run of defenders he's about to over these next few games, we're going to see something special. And also, I had a lot riding at the start of the season on Brissett winning a higher winning percentage than the sleaze bag that they signed Deshaun Watson to take over for him after week 7 or whatever, week 11, whenever he comes back. And I feel like this is a game that the Browns could win, but with Ramandre playing, it's going to be a close, even match, and I think it's going to be fun to watch.
And Belichick, he coached for the Browns. So there's a little there's some chemistry there going back to Cleveland. So I think that's very interesting. We got Jared in here. He said he's go Bills. So we know where he's going. Joseph said he's a little stitious. Definitely a little stitious. And Lori said that you're just not as hip as me and her. So I know Lori listens to Mike Jones, apparently. All right, but Bills and Chiefs. Did anybody get to watch that clip on Twitter? I think it's made its way to Instagram, where someone voiced over Patrick Mahomes screaming from the sideline.
I have not seen that.
Oh, and he says, "I'm here," but it sounds just like Kermit the Frog.
For our show to be making as much traction as it is, you would be surprised at just how little I actually get to look at actual Twitter.
Well, I'll go ahead. I'll share it after the show, so you can find it on my. It's hilarious. It is very funny because he looks completely serious and he's yelling, but it sounds like a frog. Like he sounds like Kermit the Frog, and he's just talking, which is very humorous. But
yeah, did you see him during that game this weekend, he was yelling out at one of the defenders, and he was yelling, "I'm right here, bro. I'm right here."
Yeah, that's the clip. But someone voiced over like,
right.
it's
Okay. Well,
funny.
I was thinking like, how intimidating can he really be when he
Right.
actually does sound like Kermit the Frog?
Right.
So it's funny. Okay, so that is the clip. Gotcha. I'll just have to
Yes.
see the clip of the voiceover.
Yes, it's funny. But Bills and Chiefs it's man, this rematch. This is what everybody's been waiting for, and this is round one of a 2-round fight this year. We know they're going to see each other later in the year. And Josh Allen's hot. Patrick Mahomes is heating up. Travis Kelce's hot. That Russian attack. It didn't look too great last night, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's been decent. Gabe Davis, man, he had a big game, but usually he's got a big game. He gets a little quiet afterwards, but I don't know, man, something about him against the Chiefs. So he was excited to play the Chiefs last week. That's why he went off. So he's probably going to have another big week this week. But I'm going to roll on to my betting locks of the week. I see that on there, Crap Jones. I don't know.
I was going to say, like, no, we're talking about Mac, not Danny.
Right. Oh, Mac Jones. I thought he was making fun of Mike Jones because I was going to say no Mike Jones slander here. All right. Ramandre is going to go crazy. Zappy. Nino loves Zappy. You know why Nino loves Zappy? Because Nino loves John Loud, the Gridiron Scholar. And the Gridiron Scholar says Zappy the way he says Zappy, it just lights me up, man. It has me ready to run through a wall. So we got to clip it. Anytime we talk about Bailey Zappy, we got to have John Loud's voice say it. But all right, betting locks of the week, because we are getting a little carried away. I got the New York Giants plus 5.5 versus Baltimore. I like the Giants to keep this close. I was very surprised they beat the Packers, man. They did. And I think after that uplifting victory in London, they're going to be home against Baltimore. I still think Baltimore wins this one, but I think the Giants keep it within 5.5. They're scrappy. They're going to find a way to do it. And then my other betting lock of the week, I like the Bengals -2 at New Orleans. Burrow and Chase, they won a national championship in Louisiana, playing for LSU. I think going back there to New Orleans, I think they're going to play great. And I think this might be something that sparks the Bengals. And I think we see them start to ascend after this week. What do you think about those betting locks?
Yeah, I like it. And I'm more of a fan of the Giants right now than ever before. But I will say I do have video clips of me back when we started this thing 2 or 3 years ago of me saying, give it 2 or 3 years and these Giants are going to be really good. I've got clips of that. So we need to go back and find that and send that to those damn fantasy receipts guys on Twitter.
Yeah. No, don't say their name 3 times, man. They're like Beetlejuice. They're gonna pop up. All right. Justin, tell us about your Turtleheads this week.
All right. So the first one we've already talked about, Ramandre Stevenson. If you guys don't have him on your roster at this point, it's not from lack of trying on my part. I've been trying to tote this guy for 2 seasons now. But anyway, I did write it down. I did look up a little bit of information here, but I can see a heavy dose of Stevenson against the Browns in Week 6, a full game of seeing what he can do what he can do. Oh, when he has time to actually warm up and take that lead role and not have to sit down for series at a time for Harris to get his in. I think we're going to see Belichick realize that he's worthy of a heavier role. And I'm okay with talking like I know more about football than Bill Belichick. I don't, but I'm okay with talking about it like I do. The Patriots defense, I've got them on here as well. You would think that I was a Patriots fan the way that I'm talking this team up. I still absolutely despise the Patriots. I need to make that very perfectly clear. But Patriots defense, they're ranked sixth right now after 5 weeks, depending on the format that you're in, obviously. But either way, they're right up there. They're an obvious top 10 defense, but I haven't seen them worse than 6th in any format that I'm in. They just shut down one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL in Week 5, forcing 2 turnovers, 2 sacks, and holding the Lions to 230 yards and 0 points. I know they had some injury issues. I know they had to put Hawkinson back on the line, but still, like, you hold the highest scoring offense to 0 points. That's still something. Also, the next 5 quarterbacks that the Patriots will face are Jacoby Brissett, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Matt Ryan, and Zach Wilson again. So it's a rough stretch after that, after Week 11 for the Patriots defense, but this particular stretch could help get you into the playoffs. And finally, I threw this one on here reluctantly because it's not exactly what I would normally try to go after for a Turtlehead. But at the same time, we all need to make sure we don't forget about this guy, DeAndre Hopkins. I know this is kind of cheating on my part, but but I do want to remind you all to kind of temper your expectations of DeAndre. Obviously, he is going from being suspended for the first 6 weeks to being on the field. So right off the bat, he's going to show a huge breakout, I guess, if you want to consider that. But also, I kind of want you to temper your expectation. I don't want you to like think that he's going to come in here and be the wide receiver one that he was in Houston, because we have plenty of evidence to point that he might not actually be all that great. So you're going to bring him in as a Turtlehead in a flex format at best. But Hopkins' numbers took a huge drop in 2021 season in Arizona. He only recorded 3 top 12 finishes in 2021 and 4 top 24 finishes. Aside from his 6th, 11th, 12th, and 15th finishes in PPR formats, his average overall finish in the remaining weeks were an average of wide receiver 47. He did still finish 15th overall in points per game somehow. I think maybe he just scored a lot of points in those 6th, 12th, and 6th, 11th, 12th, and 15th maybe, and that brought up his average. But he had a lot of games where he was well below the wide receiver 47. Let's see. Yeah, the Cardinals have also found some success in wide receivers Greg Dortch, Hollywood Brown, and even most recently this week with Rondale Moore finally getting healthy from his hamstring and knee injuries. This will almost definitely take away from some of D-Hop's opportunities. Utilize Hopkins as a solid flex or low-end wide receiver 2 at best in good matchups, and be ready for your Hollywood Dortch shares to take a slight hit as we kind of move into this DeAndre Hopkins and this Rondale Moore era again, and we're going to be fading out a lot of these other wide receivers in Arizona. So it's just a messy situation that we really need to monitor, and hopefully you didn't put a whole lot of stock into that wide receiving core.
Yeah, Greg Dortch is droppable in redraft. I've already dropped him. You know, he did well for me for a few weeks, and I was kind of hoping to continue riding that wave until Hopkins came back. But like you mentioned, Rondale Moore, you know, he's producing, and Greg Dortch did zilch last week after a week and not doing much the week prior. So that's 2 weeks in a row, and that's a trend. So I am dropping Greg Dortch, which now brings me to my dudes and my duds for this week. All right. So this week, my dudes, I'm going to try to be quick because we're running close to an hour. All right. So I got to get through this. My dudes, not my duds, Justin. The dudes come first. And Uncle Steve's in here, and he wants to know all of a sudden, why are you an Eagles fan? Can you tell Uncle Steve why you're an Eagles fan this week, Justin?
Yeah, so I guess he's in a little bit late. It's not so much that I'm an Eagles fan. It's just that John here lost the Game of the Week competition last week, so that's why his name down there is Fly Eagles Fly, and I'm just kind of giving it an extra little nudge.
You know why he's an Eagles fan? Because he's a bad friend, Uncle Steve. All right?
That's fair. That's fair.
All right? It's like when I won, I lifted Justin up. I called him the puppet master because he's pulling the strings. And when he wins, he's got to throw some digs in me. I have a few blades in my side this evening. What is going on between George? If you're listening on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, you need to be watching on YouTube.
Yeah, you just go ahead and do the read, and I'll finish up the comments from these yahoos.
All right. Also, reminder one more time. It's the last time I'm going to remind you. If you haven't yet, and if you're watching live, comment I'm a T2T fanatic for a chance to win that $100 gift card. All right, dudes for the week. I'm going Kirk Cousins at quarterback at the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins passing defense is ranked the 4th worst so far this season, and Cousins is coming in with a hot hand. Look for Cousins to top last week's 296-yard performance with 1 touchdown. I think he has 2 touchdowns, somewhere around 300 yards. So Kirk Cousins, regular time games like 1 o'clock, he's golden. And this is one of those. Next, Kyler Murray at the Seattle Seahawks. All fantasy managers that roster Kyler Murray have been waiting for that monster performance. It has yet to come. But this week, I think it's coming. The Seahawks were torched by Taysom Hill, and I know they're different, right? They're different, but Taysom Hill's an athlete. Kyler Murray's an athlete. I think he's a better athlete than Taysom Hill. He's not cut from the same cloth. He's not as big. He's not as physical, but he's got a better arm. He's got other tools So I think it matches up decently enough. And I think Kyler Murray, he's probably watching that and he's like, man, that dude did that. I'm going to go bananas. All right. And I think he's got, Taysom Hill's got good receiving options there with Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, but Kyler Murray's got the better arm, and he's got some decent wide receiver options over there too. So I think he's going to absolutely go bananas against the Seattle Seahawks. Ramandre Stevenson, who we've already discussed, he's a dude for this week at running back at the Cleveland Browns. I don't like to depend on any specific back on the Patriots rushing attack, but Stevenson went off last week, and Damien Harris is hurt. So it's just like, I'm going to trust the Patriots this week. Bill Belichick, please don't do anything cuckoo and just bring in some guy off the practice squad who's going to run for like 3 touchdowns, or call up LeGarrette Blount, have him show up this week and have him go for like 80 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. Just give it to Ramondre, all right? Next, Kenneth Walker at the Arizona Cardinals. All fantasy managers who rostered Walker to this point will be rewarded greatly in the coming weeks. With bye weeks upon us, having an RB1 emerge at this point in the season is huge. It's a welcome sight. Walker balled out in week 5. Look for him to keep going in week 6. Next, wide receiver Chris Godwin at Pittsburgh. Godwin's season started out shaky with an early hamstring injury after coming back from a major knee injury. It looks like he's starting to be ready for a full workload. They've been ramping it up a little bit. He's starting to look like himself. He hauled in all 6 of his targets in week 5. He even added a carry. So I'm thinking they gave him a carry. That shows a little more confidence in him. This week, Godwin will face a Steelers defense that has given up the most points to wide receivers this season. I'm loving the matchup. Next, Darnell Mooney versus the Washington Commanders. All right, so this one I might get killed for because, their passing attack hasn't been very good. There's a lot of people we talked up Darnell Mooney. I know I did. I thought he was going to be decent. He hasn't looked great. He's not lived up to the hype. All right, that being said, Chicago has faced 3 top 10 defenses against the pass through 5 weeks. And the 4th team they faced was a top 15 pass defense. So they've played some pretty strong pass defenses. Their first game of the season was just terrible conditions to be throwing the ball. I don't think it's as bad as it seems. All right. They faced the Commanders, who are giving up the 2nd most points to opposing wide receivers this season. I think the Mooney week is finally upon us. All right. I saw last night, I was driving, I saw the huge harvest moon, and I knew right away the Mooney week is upon us. All right. So I threw him in my dudes. Next, Evan Ingram at the Indianapolis Colts. Evan Ingram is coming off a season high 10 targets in week 5. He'll face a Colts defense that has allowed 13.5 points per week to opposing tight ends, which is the 4th most amongst all teams this season. Ingram is heating up, and he's worth the start in this one. Finally, at flex, Brian Robinson, many men, at the Chicago Bears. That's a 50 Cent reference, Justin. I know you don't know Mike Jones. Probably don't know who 50 Cent is, but they played many men when Brian Robinson came out for Washington, and he's going to go off, I think, against Chicago, all right? He received 9 touches this past week. It's not a big workload. He wasn't able to do much with it, but the thing is he was on the field. He looked healthy. I think the Commanders are going to ramp it up. On Thursday night, Washington will face a defense that was beat up on the ground by the Vikings in week 5. It's an intriguing play, all right? So this might be a little risky, but it's a flex play. All right, so I like to risk it. It's worth it. You've held on to Robinson. If you can't play him, just don't play him in a flex because it is Thursday night. So maybe it was foolish for me to do that because I might be confusing you. Throw him in at your running back, all right, and then play somebody else at flex because he's a Thursday night game. Keep that flex spot open. But for the sake of doing dudes and duds, I just felt it was right to put him there. Next, my duds for the week: Justin Herbert versus the Denver Broncos. Monday Night Football against the 3rd-ranked passing defense in the league. I don't like the matchup for Herbert. The Broncos' offense is in shambles, and their defense will come into this one knowing they'll need to keep up their high level of play in order to compete in this one. So I don't like Herbert this week. Jalen Hurts versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I am superstitious. I didn't pick Matthew Stafford. I didn't pick the LA Rams versus the Dallas Cowboys as my game of the week last week, but I did pick Matthew Stafford as a dud. I was correct. Picking Jalen Hurts as a dud this week. All right, so I predicted Stafford. I'm predicting Hurts. This Cowboys defense is good, man. Like, they get after it, and they're going to be bringing it, all right? Hurts will be the next QB to get harassed by the Cowboys defense for 60 minutes. Look for a big player, too, all right? He's going to have, like, a big player, too.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
Look for some turnovers, and they're going to ultimately contain him, I think. I think they're going to do a good job of forcing him to throw. I don't think anyone's really done that. They only put up 20 points last week, against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals aren't phenomenal.
So
All right.
you're saying Dallas Cowboys team defense owners should not be scared.
No,
Got it.
no. I'm starting them.
Sounds
Starting
good.
them.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Hell yeah. All right. Najee Harris versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you drafted Najee in the first round of fantasy drafts this offseason, you're likely kicking yourself right now. Harris is currently RB30, and he's coming off of a 5-point performance in week 5. It won't get easier for him this week. All right. The Bucs are coming to town, and they're bringing an elite rush defense. Next, Christian McCaffrey at the LA Rams. It's crazy to sit Christian McCaffrey given the draft capital it took to acquire him. So I'm not necessarily telling you to do that. I am more so predicting that it's going to be a rough one for him. All right, the Panthers are in shambles. Baker is hurt, and the rumor is Christian McCaffrey is on his way out anyway. The Rams have been solid against the run, minus last week because Dallas got it done. But maybe what I talked about earlier, maybe the Panthers aren't going to give him too many touches because maybe they want to keep him healthy so they can actually get rid of him and get something for him. Because if he gets hurt, he's going to leave in the offseason anyway. If he has an out, I don't know if I don't have his contract in front of me, but right now you can probably get the most you want for him. All right. Next, Jalen Waddle versus the Minnesota Vikings. This one hurts me. All right. Waddle was my offseason sweetheart, but the injury to Tua has absolutely pulled the carpet out from underneath him. Waddle has 5 receptions on 8 targets over the last 2 weeks. My confidence level for starting him is at a 0. Okay. So he's a dud, unfortunately. Deontay Johnson versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Johnson was targeted 13 times this past week, but he only hauled in 5 of those. All right. That's not good. All right. He had a few big drops, and it's likely that those drops are going to stick in Kenny Pickett's head because Kenny Pickett, he knows like the whole world's watching and he wants to succeed. He's going to target his guys he can believe in. And I'm telling you, George Pickens is going to become his number 1. That's the guy he's going to pepper. All right. So Deontay Johnson, go ahead.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, with Deontay Johnson, we have a history of dropping balls,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he tends to last for stretches. Like
Yeah.
if he drops the ball this week, there's a good chance that it's going to happen another week or two as well.
Yeah. So next, I got Hayden Hurst in New Orleans. Hurst is currently tight end 11 for the season and was tight end 4 in week 5. Fantasy managers are getting a lot of bang for their buck given where they drafted Hayden Hurst. All right. I don't think he was taken till later, but this week I'm sitting him down and finding another option. The Saints have only allowed 5 points per game to opposing tight ends, so not a good option. And then finally, Miles Sanders is the next Eagle. I'm sitting against the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys held the LA Rams to -4 rushing yards in the second half. The entire second half. Okay. I'm shutting them down. All right. I'm going to quickly go through my DraftKings lineup. All right, go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
I got another one about Hayden Hurst real quick. His best game was this past week against the Ravens, and it was a revenge game. He's got the Falcons coming up, who are not great against tight ends as it is, coming up here in a couple weeks. Another revenge game for him. So don't drop him. Just maybe for 1 week you're finding a streamer.
Right. Hopefully somebody else drops him. You can go pick them up, before that Falcons game. All right. Quickly, DraftKings.com. My lineup this week. Talked about Kirk Cousins. I got him at Miami, 6,000. Jeff Wilson, who's been solid at Atlanta, 6,200. Ramandre Stevenson at Cleveland for 6,000. Jamar Chase at New Orleans, 7,700. This is going to be his best week of the season. I'm telling you. Chris Godwin at Pittsburgh for 6,100. Darnell Mooney versus Washington for 4,800. Evan Ingram at Indianapolis for 3,500. Kenneth Walker versus Arizona for 5,400. And then the 49ers defense at Atlanta for 3,700. So a lot of my dudes are in there. All right. There's a lot of value in there. And I think I even have like $400 left over. So if you want, mess around with it, go play with it. But that's the lineup I'm telling you to submit. So Justin, slow your roll or you're all in.
Okay. So my slow your roll or you're all in is that I'm all in on making every play reviewable. I know that sounds ridiculous. And I was listening to Troy Aikman try to talk about how long it takes for instant replays, and that's why they can't do that. But it's not anymore. It really isn't. These calls that are coming in from New York are lasting maybe 20 or 30 seconds. There were some very serious calls, horrible, terrible, bad calls that were made this week that changed the entire course of the game. It potentially changed the win-loss brackets in games, and those very few wins losses that you can even earn throughout a season, because it's only 17 games, could potentially mean playoffs. You could be changing the face of how the entire season goes based off of these very few horrible bad plays. And they say that some of these cannot be reviewed. Why? There's no reason. There's an absolute, and some people will say something like, "Well, you can't review intent. You can't determine intent." Yeah, you freaking can. You can tell if a guy meant to fall flat and make Tom Brady a pancake or not, or if he was just, he had nowhere else to fall and he was going after a fumble. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if they think they can determine that with their eye, like that, then I think they can also determine it like by slowing it down. Like that's not a good argument,
Exactly. So that's my all in, just because I've been stewing on it for the last 2 days.
I mean, those calls were so bad; they were almost as bad as the Dez no catch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. And that one also should be able to be reviewed, and we should be able to just go back and give it to them.
And the Cowboys could be playing in a Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl, and my life could be changed like that.
Yeah.
And here I am now, just miserable because they took that away from us.
And this is not an intro to another Quantum Leap commercial, by the way. They're not a sponsor.
Listen, so while you were talking, I was holding my face because I read a comment about you having a man crush on Aaron Rodgers, and then you saying that Aaron Rodgers looks like Dirty Jobs.
Do you remember when Dirty Jobs first came on and he had the hairstyle slicked back and he had the facial hair?
I remember, and I think have we ever seen them in the same room at the same time?
I haven't. And as a matter of fact, he might be that German dude, Frank, that is supposedly.
Is there any coincidence that he's supposedly been working 90 hours a week and football season just picked up?
Exactly. Yeah. Right at the same time. Exactly. Yeah. He's got game film to watch. He's got practices. I mean, it's amazing to me that he can finish up the blitz and still make it to the games in time.
Yes.
But they do have a lot of primetime games though.
Yeah. Very. So, man. All right. I got to go because we got to get this thing wrapped up. All right. I'm all in on Christian McCaffrey to the Bills. All right. I kind of teased it all episode. I want to see him in that offense. The Bills find a way to get it done. That's a power move. You put the rest of the league on notice if you make that trade. It's not going to take you a first-round pick because, I mean, the Panthers, if they're trying to get rid of him.
But here's the real question. If they do that, then do they just underutilize him like they underutilize Singletary and Moss and that?
No. I think you give one of those running backs back to Carolina. You get rid of Moss, you get rid of Singletary, and you feature him, man. Like you still throw the ball, but you don't throw the ball 60 times. You throw the ball 40 times. And then of those 40 passes, 5 of them go to Christian McCaffrey. And then he runs the ball 15 times a game. Like that's not, and then in the playoffs, you got to run a little bit more. All right. So this time next week, what was your prediction last week?
So last week, my prediction was that everybody watching the show today is going to want Joey back. Joey filled in for us last week. At Cousin Joe, obviously.
Joey Fatone.
Yeah. Joey Fatone. I can't remember if that's NSYNC or Backstreet Boys.
NSYNC, man. That's NSYNC, man.
Dude that owns a bunch of hot dog stands now. But I figured everybody would want him back because Joey did a great job filling in for us last week, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank him again this week. I appreciate your willingness to step in and help us out. I needed that night off, and you made it happen. And then for this week, or do we go your last week?
Well, I'll do my last week. My last week, I said the Cowboys need Dak Prescott in order to contend with the top tier teams in the NFL. I think I was correct. Cooper Rush, he went 10 for 16. So he did just enough, and there was 2 big drops. Michael Gallup dropped a big third down conversion, made up for it pretty nicely on a big third down conversion. CeeDee Lamb dropped one. So could have been a little better than 10 for 16, but still, it was just enough. But they need Dak back. But what's your prediction for this week, Justin?
Well, also on the Cowboys, though, so they change up that offense just enough to help make it successful for Cooper Rush. Like they do run the ball a lot more. As a matter of fact, that was going to be something that I was going to talk about at some point through here and decided against it. But in the one game last year that Dak missed and all of the games, the 4 games so far this year that Dak has missed, they've ran the ball 9 more times on average than they do with Dak, which makes sense. But they're also undefeated as well with Cooper Rush.
Yeah, they need to run the ball.
Exactly. And I feel like if they do that with Dak in, even though Dak is definitely a better quarterback, I'm not saying he's not, I feel like it would help Dak a hell of a lot more.
Yes.
But
anyway, his rookie year, they ran the ball like hell. and the play action was there, man. He had space, so I agree. But go ahead.
That was actually going to be what I was going to say. This time next week they'll be saying, but then I kind of feel like Cooper might have another week coming up this week, so I didn't want to stub my toe on that one. But this prediction for next week, what we're going to be saying is, okay, Justin was wrong, and now he's finally willing to admit it. We can stop waiting on Allen Robinson and Matthew Stafford to be relevant in fantasy again, because after they have modest numbers coming up again this week against a bad Panthers team, which their defense isn't horrible, but whole nother story. They're going to have modest numbers again this week. Then they have a bye next week, and then they come back to the 49ers and the Buccaneers, and it's not going to look like a bright future for those guys in the immediate future. So those 3 weeks plus this week with the Panthers, that's 4 more weeks of mediocrity from guys that you drafted to be either a dark horse or a low-end wide receiver 2 in Allen Robinson's case, or a late-round quarterback in Stafford. I apologize. My bad. Let's move on.
All right. So my prediction this time next week, we'll be saying Kenneth Walker is going to be a league winner. People, they got him at value, especially in redraft, because he was dynasty. The hype was there, so the value necessarily wasn't there, but it's still a big play for dynasty people. But redraft people, he fell due to the injury. So where you likely took Kenneth Walker, you probably already have a decent squad. You probably didn't need too much from him. He's coming in off the bench, and he's producing for you. He's going to produce down the stretch. So that's a league winner. And Justin, what was your question?
Yeah. So my question, I threw one on here just in case we had time. In a redraft league, $200 redraft league. Hey, Steve, close your ears.
He won't. He's going to snipe you.
How much fab are you willing to spend?
All of it.
100%.
I'll spend it all. I'm going all in, man. It's week 6.
Yeah. That I agree. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't being too crazy with this.
Yeah, Uncle Steve said no, but at least he's honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Justin's gonna delete one of your entries into the $100 giveaway.
Uncle Steve is very honest, sometimes too honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets him in trouble.
All right, everybody. I understand. I'm that way too. My wife tells me it's my face that's honest. I don't know how to control my facial expressions. They just pop up. All right. It's a gift and a curse. All right, but everybody, we appreciate you listening. Hopefully everybody's doing very well. What was this? Wait, how much is the league, Justin?
I'll explain it later. She's thinking fab money, $200. She doesn't.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah,
Yes. All right. Everybody, we're going into week 6. So good luck down the stretch. We got to start making now your team kind of is what it is. Now it's time to make those decisions. If you got to make moves, if you got to panic, if you got to reroute. But when you're getting ready to make those decisions, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/toilets titles. At least get in tier 1. Get into our Discord chat. Let's help you make those decisions. We are there. It's not just these episodes because we got so many. We'll help you there as well. But in that Discord chat, when someone sends you that trade offer, we are right there to help you make those decisions. So that's us helping you while you help us. So good luck this week. Enjoy some good football. And go ahead, Justin.
And don't forget, right after us, we've got Nino and Jared coming up. With their college show. Don't forget, hop in there, live show.
IDP with Clutch Russ and Nino and Jared.
College show is later in the week.
Friday.
That's Friday. I'm a TTT fanatic. Type that into the live show. Get that extra entry in. And that's all I got. I just had to throw that out there real quick.
All right. Now Uncle Steve's trying to get you in trouble by telling Lori that league costs $2,000. All right. Enjoy the next show. Enjoy your week. We'll catch you all later on. Take care.